Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Wild&Wingless, the weekend wrap-up. Over the weekend we had a pretty interesting race down at the B&S Earthworks Timber Speedway in Mildura. It was pretty much the first sort of shakedown there for the Australian title coming up later in the season. But it was definitely one that attracted a lot of good names and a lot of good cars. So there was, in the end, there was 23 cars that went down. Out of those 23, there was 15 South Australian cars, 7 New South Wales car, and one Lone Ranger Victorian car. I did inquire as to why this was, and apparently it was their daylighting day Victoria had was sort of clashed with that date. So a lot of Victorian cars were unable to sort of get there. Now, with those cars on the track, I think a lot of people are going down there, which is fair enough, to get the sort of rundown, get a feel for the track before the Australian title kicks off. It's what everyone does in all sorts of motorsports. If they know the track's there and it's going to be a big race later on in the season, they get there and do their practice. However, one thing I found with Timber Speedway, which I love the place, was every time you go there, it's like a different track. You run through different gear ratios, you run through different sort of staggers. It always keeps you on your feet. It's not one of those tracks where I think you can set a car up day in, day out, rock up there and you're there. I think you still have to fine tune each and every time. But look, it was hats off to them. Hats off to Timber Speedway. Hats off to SA Wingless for holding the event there and getting the cars on the track very quickly and without any dramas. It was good as well. We had Wade Ornger back on the mic, which is always a fun thing to have. I think he brings the excitement there wherever he goes, so it was great to have him there. But the track, sort of at first, had some sedan classes and so forth there. And I just sort of speaking to people over the course of the night, it was very hard to get a live stream there. Clayview weren't there, which was unfortunate. Um, but the track was like slick on the bottom, but rough on the top. And yeah, so uh, someone I've spoken about in the past is the N16 of Andrew Sayer. Hats off to him. He won the first heat by just simply sailing it in the opening lap and making that work and getting around the track. So yeah, over the course of the race, 23 cars obviously split up into two groups, all up 4 heats. The heat winners were Andrew Sayer in the N16. You had Hayden Vickers in the S36. Jack McCarthy in the S23 and John Egan in the NX47. They rounded out the heat winners. There was enough cars to hold a B main, and that B main was won by the S50 of Jordan Blytho. It's good to see Jordan back in a car. Good buddy of mine, and he's sort of been off, got married, all the rest, growing up, doing all the adult things you're meant to do in life. But it's good to see him back in the car, and yeah, it was. I don't think he had the results he wanted, but it was definitely good to see him back, and he won that B main quite convincingly too. So that was good. For the start of the A main, yeah, that was a race that just, I think it caught a lot of people out. The track progressing throughout the course of the night, a lot of the drivers sort of getting tired in the arms and so forth, running out of puff, and sort of falling back. One thing I did notice with this race, I went back through and I looked at where everyone started, where they finished, all that sort of stuff. Was there's a lot of overtaking at this venue, so that's a good sign considering we're going there later this season for the Australian title. When you get a lot of overtaking, it means it's a good track. It wasn't because there was a lot of wrecks and stuff. Just you're able to run a bottom, middle, and sort of high line, which is what we want at the end of the day. But the person who took the spoils, yeah, hats off to him. The S23 of Jack McCarthy won the race from Andrew Sayer in the N16 and Rylan Furler in the S26. It was cool to see the WOW drivers. So you sort of, now everyone knows the WOW series and who the drivers are and all the rest. It's really cool to see like where they are in this grand scheme of things. And I guess if you're a non-contracted driver and you're doing these sorts of events, it's good to sort of put you up against that, sort of use them as a measuring stick, I guess, and see where you're held up. But yeah, so the podium was won by WOW drivers, which hats off to them. I mean, that's why they're the best of the best moving forward. Another thing I've started doing actually since doing this sort of show is just keeping track on all the overtaking. So the Passmaster Award for that race meeting goes to the S23 of Jack McCarthy. He ended the night with nine passes, so hats off to him. But in saying that, we had 23 cars. There was 18 cars who passed more than one car. So there was a lot of overtaking. You had a couple who did like 2, 3. A lot did 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, but obviously Jack was the man who got 9. So he's definitely someone who can come through that field anyway. With seems to be no problems and take the lead and shoot away. He won by a substantial amount. Hearing from people who were there, it sounded like there was a bit of a fight behind him for second and third. and he was just able to shoot away and breeze. They got into lap traffic. I think they lapped up half the field. Um, so yeah, Jack, we've raced against him before, and he's no slouch at all. So he was definitely motoring along in his S23. So hats off to Jack for that win. That's good. So this weekend we've got a few races going on around the place. I think it's going to be pretty action packed, and now it's making my job a lot harder to try and keep an eye on things. But I'm going to try and do my best. So far I've got all the results and the passing stuff all right. But anyway, Wangaratta in Victoria. So sort of mentioned last week how it was floating around Facebook. I know Andrew Seary, the New South Wales wingless president, NX9 driver, he was sort of posting on his Facebook to try and get more and more city cars there. It seems like he's done a pretty good job. So they've ended up with like 30 cars. Notable mentions will be the V4 of Carly Walsh, obviously the NX9 of Andrew Seary, the NX26, Brad McCarthy's going to be there, the NX47 of John Egan. The VX of 89 of Christopher Tempe. It's good to see him out there. And the V89 of Ebony Hobson. So they're my notable mentions. Couple of WOW Series drivers going to be down there mixing up with the locals. I think that's going to be a good thing. I can't wait to see the results. It'd be cool if there's a live stream going on because I know that would be my Saturday night sorted. But nevertheless, it'll be good to see what happens there. Another race we've got this weekend would be Murray Bridge. They've got 35 cars. Huge. So that's great for South Australian wingless. 35 cars. Notable mentions, I think, straight away will be the S2 of Joel Chadwick. Joel Chadwick is in the S2, so interesting to see how he's going to operate, get there, get through there. You got the S11 of Tyson Martin, the S23 obviously of Jack McCarthy, the S26 Roland Furler, the S47 Anthony Tapley, and the S86 of Kirby Hellier. They're my sort of picks for where they're going to sort of end up around. I'm sure I'll be probably proven wrong, but hats off to those guys. Again, you got some WOW Series guys as well rocking up at Murray Bridge, so I think that's a great thing. And I look forward to seeing how the racing goes from there. We've got another race up in Northern Territory, Katherine Speedway. We've got 4 cars at the moment nominated. I don't know if we're going to get more or not, but nevertheless, good luck to you guys up there. Notable mention will be the NT61 of Matthew Seeley. So I've been following Matthew Seeley for the last couple of months, especially over the Chariot sort of weekend up there in Darwin. I'll probably put him as the winner or put him to win. But yeah, so good luck to all those guys up there in Katherine on the weekend, representing your division. And also we've got kicking off the season will be the WA Wingless Club at Perth Motorplex with the I believe it's Power Palooza race. So they've got 22 cars nominated for their first round. Very, very good. So the notable mentions will be W2 of Blake Iwano, the W3 of Matthew Iwano, and then the W56 Brendan Wedge, the W6 of Travis Armstrong, the W24 Brandon Sharp, and the W84 of Darren Humphrey. So I wish all those guys, I mean, there's more than that, there's 22, but they're the notable mentions. Best of luck to all you guys there. Another thing that I'm not sure everyone's aware of, I'm only new to it because I'm sort of looking outside the box here, is over in WA they run a development series. So I believe they've got a development race coming up like the following Friday night or something like that. But I'll sort of keep an eye on that and come back before that happens. I've got a fair bit of racing to digest after the weekend to come back and sort of give you results and so forth, passing points, that sort of stuff. But yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about too was, so last show spoke about the whole Adelaide 500 with the Speedway getting involved, which is a great thing for us. We're going to have a few wingless drivers at that event, and I'll have some of them on the show very shortly to have a chat and tell us what their thoughts are on that, which I think is going to be a good thing. Also, lately in the news has been the fact that Supercars have teamed up with Sydney International Speedway for an event next calendar year, but this season. So it'll be for the Sydney 500 event in February. So just, pretty good that they've just announced that, hot off the heels of what's happening in the Adelaide 500 and the work that they're doing with South Australian Speedway. As much as wingless aren't going to be on the calendar for this event, I'm still looking forward to this event, how it plays out. And I do hope for a long business relationship formed between Supercars as well as Sydney International Speedway for future years to come, where all divisions are able to benefit and to be on that event as support divisions or whatnot. So I think it's a really good thing. Hats off to the promoters there at Sydney International Speedway. for being proactive and yeah, sort of getting involved with that. So I'm going to try and get someone from Sydney International Speedway one day to sit down and have a chat with us, because a lot of things happening there. And of course, with everything, you get speculation. So it's good to hear from the horse's mouth. But yeah, apart from that, guys, that's pretty much my show wrapped up. I will be having a show again before the end of the week to discuss some changes that have happened in Victoria and Wingless. But yeah, until then, guys, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a great night. Take care. See ya.